Let's talk a little bit about the mini hygiene kits, which basically is 4 reusable menstrual pads and a very small bag for these 4 to go into. And it isn't necessary for the missionary to have it this way, but when they hand them out, the young girls would much prefer to bring home the pads from their training session in something a little more discreet than just carrying these pads. So because the missionaries have very limited space when they travel, they ask that we just get that bag as small as possible. So I'm going to talk a little bit about sizes in a second. I want to just go over the pads. This is the style we use now. There are so many different styles that you can make. Days for Girls has a particular style. AfriPads is another style. There's just really no limit to the different ways you can make a reusable pad. We make them this way for a multitude of reasons, primarily because after having some women in Africa test them for us, all the different styles, this was the style they preferred. They did not want a rubberized not vapor barrier, blood barrier. They would prefer something breathable. So the back of ours uses fleece. Now the fleece has an added benefit in that when it's being worn, it keeps the pad from moving around. It just kind of sticks to the panty. So that's a perk. There's no need for snaps or pins or Velcro, absolutely nothing. So they preferred less bulk. They didn't like the wings because that was bulky. And with pole fabric, for example, it likes to do this in the panty when you walk a mile. So they really just prefer nice and simple. So we make them fleece on the outside next to the panty. And then there is toweling or terry cloth for the absorbent layer. And we use that because we get towels from Hampton Inn when they are getting old or stained or have tears or something like that. We just work around the problems and put them on the inside of a pad. Then we have flannel next to the body. That's a wicking layer. You can also use minky fabric. Just note that it is confusing sometimes for volunteers who are assembling them. Minky to them is the same as fleece, but it's not. So the blood will go through minky. It doesn't go through the fleece. So, you know, you can complicate your life or not. Now the people who've worn the minky really love the feel of it. But again, it's just an option. You can also use 100% cotton t-shirt, but you really need to make sure it's all cotton, no poly blend, it gets too hot. So that's a little bit about our pads. The pads measure we cut them at 2.5 by 8 inches long, 2.5 inches wide. We do a 1/4 inch seam around the outside. We tested this exact style using serger all the way around the outside, which makes everything so nice and tidy. However, the girls said it was very uncomfortable. First, they were really stiff. And secondly, this part of the pad, they could feel it on their inner thigh, and they just did not like it. They said they weren't comfortable. So bonus for us, much simpler, just about any beginner stitcher can make these. You're just going to sit down at a straight stitch machine and work your way around, double stitch where you start and stop. I generally try to start and stop, you know, somewhere on the side, up towards the top, not at a corner, if you can avoid the corner. If not, then at least go past where you started. Okay, so now what we do is we line them all up and we fold them. Then we tuck them into the bag. You can pull it shut, you don't have to, whatever. Okay, so 4 per bag. The reason for that is the girls need to allow the pad to completely dry after they've used it and washed it. And if they only have 2 or 3, you really run the risk of them using a pad that is not completely dry. It might feel dry on, you know, the outer 2 layers, but that terry cloth really holds the moisture doing its job, right? So by giving them the 1 extra pad, we're much more confident that they are only using completely dry pads. So in the next video, I'm going to look at the minimum measurements for these mini bags.